Hi, I'm Ed Horwitz, head of production for The Talk on CBS, and I was just interviewed by Keith Andrew for his talk show, and I am so happy I did it. I'm very proud of Keith for persevering, and he's on episode 545, and he should be very proud of himself for doing such a great thing and achieving so much.
Gentlemen, welcome to the KeithAndrewNetWork. This is episode 545. That's right, you're watching the KeithAndrewNetWork 500 and the glorious number 45 on the road to 60 and the road to 600. Now, for people who want to know what my talk show is about, the whole point of my talk show is to show people that even with having a learning disability, I can still amount to something. And at the same time, I'm able to turn myself into an example for people out there dealing with any types of learning disabilities and disabilities to never give up and prove people wrong. Prove to them that labels do not dictate who you are and who you're going to be. And to prove to them you can still amount to something. So hashtag break the labels. So that being said, half hour, 33 minutes of your time. You can say anything you want, talk about anything you want. No gloves and all cards on my sleeve, so you can ask me anything. And starting off, what can you tell us about yourself?
Well, let's see. I guess I'm a producer right now. I work on a show called The Talk. It's on CBS every day, and I'm the senior supervising producer and head of production on that show. And I've been there. This is my third season now. I've been there a little bit over 2 years.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah.
And the first one... Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I love it there. It's a fantastic show and a great group of people, and I'm having a blast with it.
Oh, absolutely. So the questions I wrote down that I want to talk to you about. So I started you were a head producer, senior supervisor producer for The Talk, and you work for CBS. So let's start off with the elephant in the room. But as you mentioned, you work on The Talk. So the
Correct.
first question I want to ask you is, are you based in New York or LA? And I know that The Talk is viewed everywhere. But where do you shoot from and where do you recruit people from?
You mean the guests on the show?
Yes.
First of all, we are out of Los Angeles. It's a place. It's in Studio City, California, actually, and it's in the San Fernando Valley. And we have a large talent department that recruits the guests. Basically, they go after whoever celebrities are promoting something. If they have a movie coming out, a record coming out, a television show coming out, any kind of something that they want to promote, we allow them the opportunity to come and talk about themselves on our show and promote whatever it is that they would like to promote.
All right. Now, the second thing I was going to ask you is, have you... I know that was you or me.
No, that's me. I'm turning it up. Sorry.
Second thing I was going to ask is, how do you know when someone's a right fit? That's number one. And number two, based on the show I'm doing, showing people with disabilities, do you think I would be a good fit?
Well, yes, if we have a topic that would be related to you. But really our show is just for celebrities that are out to promote something. We even have chefs on the show that come and show us recipes and stuff, but they're always promoting something, like a new cookbook or a restaurant that just opened or something. But it's pretty much a vehicle for people to promote something, celebrity-based, almost 100%. So whether you'd be a good fit on it or not, it depends upon if we have a topic or if there's something that you want to promote. Now, maybe you want to promote your talk show. What does your talk show air on? How
Facebook.
do people see it?
Right now, my show is on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. I recently relaunched SoundCloud and Speaker. A lot of people seem to know it. Speaker now. So I have over 500, and thanks to you, 545 episodes. So I'm now converting all the episodes to MP3s, and they will be available on Speaker and SoundCloud. So for people who don't have the time, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was just saying that's great.
And for people who don't have the time to sit down and watch like a TV show like this, there's a lot of people that always travel. And I was always against audio in the beginning because I'm more of a video person. But now I'm going to cover both bases. Now I'm going to cover, okay, you want to sit down, have a drink, have a beer, sit back and watch a good show? Here you go. Or if you're traveling to New York, to Chicago, or Canada and England, you can listen to this on the go. So right now I'm converting all 100 episodes of Season 1 to, like I said, Speaker and SoundCloud. And then I will eventually turn that over to Season 2 and be catch up to Season... I think I'm up to Season 6 right now.
That's really nice. Congratulations.
No, absolutely. Now, the next question, and to answer the question, I would love to be a guest on the show if that's a possibility. I'm trying to get myself out there. But with that being said, you know, it's not all about me. I'm turning myself into an example. Say, you know, I was labeled handicapped, mentally disturbed, you know, I'm on the spectrum for being retarded. I read and learn at a 5th grade level. But I'm showing you, if I can do it, you should do it too. So I'm a motivational speaker for people out there. So I think people should hear my story.
That's fantastic. I love the idea. You know, I would certainly pitch it to the people at the talk and see if there's any way we can figure out how to make it work.
No, absolutely. Now, the next question I was going to ask you, while on the subject of disabilities, you mentioned you only have celebrities. And if you can help me with this, I really appreciate it. With all the people you have worked with, from the big names to the A-listers down to the D-listers, all the celebrities you worked with, would any of them be considered, trying to find words, disabled or learning disability? I know there's a guy from Hawaii Five-0, the new one, who does Steve McGarry. He has a disability.
Oh, really? I don't know that yet. I mean, we're probably about to get those people on our show this year because it's a new show and it is CBS, I believe. So we'll be having them on our show, but I don't know about that yet. I'm trying to think of the only people that I can think of that might fit. We had someone from, I forget what show, but one of the detective shows, and she's a little person. But I cannot think of anybody that... I actually can't think of anybody that would fit into that category.
No, absolutely. I think one of the other shows, I can't remember what network it was from. I think it was like True Detective or something. But she had autism. Or she was autistic. But I don't know if that was a put-on for the show or if she really had that.
Right.
But, you know, I think it's great that CBS is now catering to everyone.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. So, I have 2 relatives in my family that are autistic, actually, too. I have a grandson and a nephew, so...
Well, if they're ever interested, they're more than welcome to be a guest on the show. The more the merrier.
Okay. Well, actually, my nephew, he's old enough. My grandson's only 7 or 8 years old. 8 years old. But my nephew is 21, and he might be actually a very good person for you to interview.
Hey, like I said, I interview everyone and everyone, so everyone's...
That's great.
A little bit about my show is I like to give people an opportunity. Like for you, I'm giving you an opportunity to be on my show. Because, God forbid I die, I would like to be remembered for something. So, with that being said, I like to make a difference. No matter how big or small, it's the thought that always counts.
Absolutely.
So if someone would say, oh, I remember Keith, he was nice enough to give me an opportunity to be on his show. So I'm always looking to make new friends, new connections, and networking. That's pretty much what life is about.
That's fantastic. I agree.
Now, the next question I was going to ask you is how many years have you been a head producer, and do you have any new projects that you're working on?
I have been doing unscripted television since 1980 for a long time. I started on a show in 1980 called That's Incredible, and I've worked on hundreds and hundreds of different series since 1980 and just sort of worked my way up. And I am now head of production on The Talk, which is a really big show. We do 220 episodes a year. And I honestly do not have time for anything else but that right now. It keeps me quite busy.
No, it sounds like and I've seen it. It's a great show.
Yeah, it's really good.
If you don't mind me for asking, what is the difference between The Talk and The View?
Very easy distinction. The View talks politics pretty much predominantly, and we completely avoid politics. I call us the fun version of The View. We have a lot more fun. We have lighter topics and important topics, but again, we steer completely away from politics. We leave that to them.
Now, do you think your show, The Talk, has influenced a lot of other shows out there? Like we mentioned The View, there's I think it was the top 5 or the 5, or Good Morning America. There's always going to be something that's got to copy each other. But do you think your show is standing out to be a pioneer?
I would say if we were older, yes, but we're only in our 9th season now, and shows like Good Morning America, Today Show, CBS This Morning, even The View have been on a lot longer than us. So I think everybody just tries to find their own niche to be a little bit different from the others. I think, so I don't really think we're at that stage yet because we're new. I mean, we're sort of the youngest one of all of those type of shows, to be honest.
All right. And while I was just looking at your shirt, I said you're a fan of them. And the question I was going to ask is, who were some of your favorite famous people that you got the chance to work with, and who were somebody you really didn't care for, but you had to do what you had to do?
Well, when I was 19 years old, I was a PA, and I worked for a director named Robert Altman. And he one day told me, can you do me a favor and go pick up a friend of mine and bring him back to the office? Something's wrong with his car. Can you pick him up and bring him to the office and we're going to have lunch? And I said, sure. He gave me the address. I got in my car. I drove into Beverly Hills, drove up to this beautiful house, beautiful stone house. I knocked on the door, and the door opened, and it was Paul Newman. And, he was a very famous actor at the time. This was 1977, I think. And I was quite, starstruck. And I said, am I picking you up? And he said, yeah, are you Ed? And I said, yep. And he said, let's go. And he got in my car, and we talked on the way back to the office, and it was a day I'll never forget. He was a lovely man, and we did some movies with him afterwards, and I got to know him a lot better, and his wife, and they were a fantastic couple, and it was a great experience. As far as people I am not crazy about, I probably wouldn't want to say their names because this business is so small.
Yeah.
We'll probably end up working together again. But there are definitely people that I have worked with and for that are not the nicest people to work with. Let me just leave it at that.
No, I can relate, and it's like the expression people say, be nice who you meet going up, because you're going to meet the same exact people coming down.
Yeah, exactly. That is a very good way to put it, because I completely agree. Those people are going to need the people that they're rude to one day, and they're going to be sorry. So I make sure that I try not to ever do that.
No, absolutely. And I give you a perfect example. People, unofficially, I did over 854 long story short, I did 300, and they were backing at it. They were making idle threats or some stupid reason. Like said, my agent said, my publicist said, you're degrading. We don't want to be seen as people like you. It's kind of what we're doing right now, just having a normal talk. But then they would just like throw it back at me. It's like, yeah, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, now you sign a permission form. Once you sign it, it's a done deal. That was my biggest mistake, biggest regret. But it's kind of like the same thing. Well, all those people that turned me down said, yeah, I'm not interested. Once I get that knock on the door, they're going to come back to me. Oh, I didn't really think, you were going to be this big star and you got to be on TV. Can you give me another chance? So I'm like, no, you had your chance. And you told me, don't let the door hit me on the way out. So I'm going to say that to you. Don't let the door hit you on the way out.
That's fantastic. I love that story.
Then the next question I was going to ask you is, how many years have you worked for CBS? And who influenced you to work for CBS?
Well, that's an interesting question. I was head of production for a company that did a lot of reality shows for 13 years. It was called LMNO Productions, and we did tons of crime shows and talk shows and reality shows and docu-soaps and a lot of stuff for Discovery Channel, the Learning Channel, Discovery ID, etc. And it started to slow down there a little bit, so I told somebody I might be interested in looking around, and someone said, oh, I just heard that there's a job available on the talk, and I happen to know somebody at CBS, so I called them and I said, I hear there's a job opening on the talk, and they said, are you interested? I said, yes. He said, hold on, I'll be back, and someone will get back to you. About half an hour later, I got an email from the head of daytime for CBS, and she said, can you come in and meet me tomorrow morning at 12:30? I said, yes. I showed up at 12:30, had a nice interview with her for about a half an hour, and by 6 o'clock that night, I got a call, and I had the offer to work on the show, and 2 weeks later, I started. And that was it. It wasn't even anything that I really looked for. I just heard it was available. I called. Everything just fit. It was kismet. Like everything, all the pieces of the puzzle fit right together very perfectly. And it just sort of fell into my lap. And I got very lucky because I love it there. It's a great show. It's great people. And I'm extremely happy. It's a really good fit for both of us.
No, absolutely. That's what I'm looking for. I'm very passionate about the show, and I want to do this until the day I'm dead, 6 feet under. A lot of people say I mess up a lot of things that I touch, but this I've been doing for 5.5 years, and thanks to you, it's 545, and it's growing, and I met a lot of great people, actors, actresses, models, CEOs, professional wrestlers.
That's great.
You name them, my God, this is what I want to do for the rest of my life.
That's fantastic.
Now, the next thing I was going to ask you is social media, and then I'm going to pass the show over to you after we take a break. The first one I'm going to ask you is, how do you feel about social media? Do you think social media can make you or break you? And especially working in the entertainment business, what is your point of view?
Are you speaking professionally or personally? Like, do I both? Okay, well, personally, I think social media, you know what? I think the answer actually to both of those questions, professionally and socially, professionally and personally, is how you use it. We use it quite well, I believe, on the talk, and we promote. Every time we have someone on, we have someone behind the scenes shooting the behind the scenes, because everybody gets to see what's on TV, but they don't ever get to see what happens behind the scenes before they come on, after they go off, and what's happening backstage during the time that they're on. And we try to show all that. And I think people really enjoy that, and we have a very good social media presence. Personally, I think that people sometimes go way too far on social media, talk about too much, things that people don't necessarily need to know. But then on the other hand, I think that there's some great things that social media can do for you personally too. For me, for instance, I 5.5 years ago now, I got diagnosed with cancer. And I was gonna, nobody usually talks about that kind of stuff. It's something that's kind of personal and private to you, but I decided to share my whole journey on Facebook. And it was the best thing I ever did. I got so much support that it just kept me going. And it was, for me, I think it got me through the whole thing, because I had a very serious, 7 months of chemo and radiation, and lost all my hair, just really changed my life for 7 months, changed my life now forever. And now I'm cancer-free for 5 years, and I credit social media and the way I used it, I believe, with helping me through that very difficult process.
No, absolutely. And I just talked to someone, we did a double interview, and there's a couple other people who I interviewed that, they go on a tangent and they rant and rave, they use the F word, N word, C word. And I mean, it's okay if you want to cater to some audience, like, the hardcore wrestling fans, if you want to look at that. It's good. But at the same time, it's like, how many times can you say whatever imaginary word you want to say? It's kind of like it gets repetitive.
Yeah.
But for me, I don't do any of it. I try not to anyway. I keep away from that. You pretty much have a normal conversation. If I have chemistry with the guests, it's got to be a great talk. But usually, there's some guests I have, it's like pulling teeth. And it's kind of like, it's really bad. But we're going to take a quick commercial break, and with the last 12 minutes left, I'm going to pass the show over to you.
Vanessa Lina. Adrian Lalo. Hi, this is Cynthia Bass today. I'm Sonia Fisher. This is Shane Smith. My name is Alexandra Bowie. My name is Amelia Clover. Hi, I'm Amy Linden.
Hi, I'm Anita Nicole Brown.
Meg Green.
Hi, my name is Asata Caldwell. Hi, everybody. I'm Brooke from
Hi, I'm Brynford.
Hi, I'm Casey Dunn.
Hi, it's Cassandra Kavinsky.
Hi, I'm Christina Briza.
I'm Cindy Hogan. I'm Courtney Sinello.
Hi, I'm Daisy.
My name is Deborah Jane East.
Hi, my name is Dinah Marcia.
Hi, everyone. I'm Victoria London.
Hi, I'm Heather Crona.
Hi, I'm Heather Callahan Stevens.
Hi, I'm J. Nicole Ralph.
My name is Jamie Petrell. My name is Turi. My name is Julia Brankovich.
Kathleen Wills.
Kimberly Amato.
Hi, my name is Laura Putnam.
Hi, I'm Laura Chapanis.
Hi, everyone. I'm Melissa Damas.
This is Michelle Mupo, a.k.a. Fuchsia. I'm Rachel Olivera.
Hi, my name is Sarah Joy Mount.
Hi, I'm Susan Brender.
Hi, everyone. This is Venus Leone.
Hi, I'm Showtana.
Hi, I'm Stephanie Herrera, and I was just on the Keith Andrew Network. It was tons of fun. We used up all our time and then some. I really recommend this show, and try to be a guest on Keith's show. It was super fun.
Ladies and gentlemen, I am your host, Keith Andrew, along with Ed Horwitz, and I just want to say thank you for joining us and being a guest on the show. What's the last? Sorry, Skype cuts in and cuts out.
Pardon?
Oh, I didn't mean to interrupt. Skype cuts in and cuts out.
Oh, yeah. No, I was just saying it's my pleasure to be here. I'm happy to participate here.
No, absolutely. Now, my last two questions I was going to ask you is, let's just stay on the talk show for a minute.
Okay.
I saw some clips or previews, and if I had to say that's part of my disability, I apologize. But there's some clips and stars that have been on The View I would love to have on the show. You had Tom Selleck, he was the big one. Well, there's other ones that I never really seen on there, but I do want to do something I call rapid fire. So I'm going to ask you a couple names, and you can just say yes or no or anything you like.
Okay.
So the first one, and you can ask me anything you want afterwards. This is your time. So the first two that come to mind is Ozzy Osbourne, Bill O'Reilly, and Bill Maher. Will they ever be on The View?
On the talk?
On the talk, I'm sorry.
That's okay. Ozzy has been on the talk many times because he's married to Sharon, obviously, and he hangs out at the studio a lot just to be with his wife. He's been on many times. He's only been on once since I've been there, but he's been on many times. I don't know about Bill O'Reilly, if he's ever been on. And he probably wouldn't be, only because most of what he talks about is politics.
Right.
And again, we stay away from politics, so he might not be. And who was the third one?
Oh, Bill Maher.
Oh, Bill Maher. I kind of think the same thing. With Bill Maher, even worse. Actually, if we ever did it, it would be good to have Bill Maher and Bill O'Reilly on the show at the same time. But no,
I'd love to see that.
We stay away from politics as much as possible, so we probably wouldn't have those two. But yes, Ozzy is around a lot, and he's a lovely man.
What about, I think he did too much drugs. You can't understand him most of no. I know that sounds horrible, but you can't really, to me, I can't understand what he says.
Hang on a second. Let me just hang up on this.
I have that effect on people.
There we go. Sorry about that.
Oh, not a problem. Like I was saying with Ozzy, you can't, it's really hard to have lots of guests because he mumbles all the time.
Yeah, but he I don't know why it's I don't know if I am used to it or what, but I can understand him pretty good. Or maybe he's just, I don't know, maybe he speaks a little bit more clearly now. He has a podcast. The Osbournes do a podcast now that is so entertaining. It's just like the old Osbourne show, but they do it on podcast now, and he's great on it.
No, I have to definitely check it out, and our viewers should definitely check that out.
Yeah.
Now, the next one I was going to ask you is Dr. Phil, Steve Harvey, and I completely had a brain fart on my last one. And Dennis Miller. You know, Dennis Miller, occasionally, he's on Fox News and he talks about politics, but he's also a stand-up comedian. Would you ever think of having those guys on?
Would he ever have a what?
Let me rephrase that. I know he talks about politics a lot, but he's also a stand-up comedian. Would he ever have Dennis Miller, Steve Harvey, and Dr. Phil?
Dennis Miller, yes. Steve Harvey we would love to have, but he's got a competing show, so I don't know if we'd ever get him. And Dr. Phil we have on all the time. We had him on our season premiere last Monday, our season 9 premiere of the show. Dr. Phil was our guest and co-host.
Yeah, no problem. So I was going to ask you bring up a good point about Steve Harvey having a competitive show. So I want to ask you, a lot of people say it's great to have competition out there. So do you think you two or your show brings out the best in people? Because there's always great to have competition. If there's no competition, everything gets stale.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, the show is a very different type of show than ours is, but we're on against him in a lot of markets, I believe. We're all on daytime and we're on different states, so we're competitive in that way. We'd love to have him on as a guest. He's a great talk show guest. He's one of the best talk show guests, but we just don't get to do it. I think that competition definitely brings out the best in people, and I also think, I know that everybody that comes on our show loves the experience. Our ladies are lovely. They're all friends with each other, and they make everybody feel at home. And everybody that leaves our show, we have so many repeat guests because they just want to keep coming back. It's a really nice home environment, and our studio audience is so friendly that it's a great experience for everybody.
No, absolutely. Now, wrapping up the show, I'm going to pass it to you. Was there any funny stories, any funny pranks you'd like to share with us? Anything you'd like to promote? This is your time.
From the talk?
Well, in general, from the talk, from your experience.
Let's see. Well, I can tell you that we are just starting. We just finished our first week of season 9 of The Talk. We're very excited to be back on the air. We've decided to start a new feature on our show, and it's called Talk Table Takeover. And we have a real person come in if they have an interesting topic to talk about. We have a real person come in for one segment of the show once a week, and they talk about something that's in the news. It's not to talk about themselves. It's not to promote anything. It's just if they have a subject that they want to bring up, that they want to talk about. And we did it every day for our first week, and I think it went really well. And we're going to be doing that at least until further notice. And people will be flying in to take a seat at our table and be one of the hosts for one act, for like a 5-minute act. And it's an exciting new feature. I think it'll involve the audience. And so far, everyone's liking it a lot.
No, absolutely. I'd love to see it. Now, my last 2 questions for you is how can people follow you on social media? Are you on Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn?
Yes, I'm on LinkedIn as my name, Ed Horwitz, and I'm on. I don't really do much Twitter. I am on Twitter and Instagram as Ed Horwitz, EDHORWITZ, all one word. But I don't do much Twitter, but I do a lot of Instagram. And I'm on Facebook, same thing, Ed Horwitz, HORWITZ.
No, absolutely. And don't worry, that will be in the little box underneath.
Okay,
and my
cool.
last question for you is, when I first approached, to be completely honest, when I first approached you to be a guest on my talk show, what was your first reaction? And after doing the interview, how do you feel and would you recommend it?
When you first approached me, I'm like, who is this? And what is he talking about? Does he really have a talk show? I'm like, why would he want me on his talk show? And then when I just heard your, what you're basically out there talking about, that if I could do it, anybody could do it. And I want to show you that, I'm not my disability, and I can be a talk show host too, even with, no matter what people think of me. And I think that's a great thing, and I wanted to be part of that. And I think you should be proud of yourself for it. And so I said, yeah, what the heck? And by the way, yes, I think whoever you asked to be on the show, I highly recommend it. It's been a very pleasant half hour. I was a little skeptical, thinking like, what is this going to be like? And is this really a talk show? But you're in 545 episodes, and you've obviously been doing this for a while. You know what you're doing. You're very prepared. Your questions are great. I had a great time, and I highly recommend it to anybody.
Oh, absolutely. I do have a couple questions for you off the air. But wrapping up, it was a real honor and privilege to have you as a guest, and I'm looking forward to part 2 down the road.
Thank you. Me too.